Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is the place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you and yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live. I now post a new video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content, if you find it useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form. In a few moments, we're going to be discussing what are asexual fears, concerns or worries about being asexual for Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month. Yes, July is Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month. If you didn't know what that is celebrating our asexuality across the asexual spectrum and our diversity within it. And I found it in 2017 when I launched this book, and I'm going to be reading some excerpts of it from the book for tonight's program. So let's go straight to it. So Ari's story. What's your deepest fear, concern or worry about being asexual? I worry that my asexuality will make me incompatible with someone I want to be dating. They'll like me as a friend, but eventually they'll want a sex partner, and I won't be willing / able to be that for them. So we'll drift apart and they'll break up with me, or that I'll try to force myself to try out sex to make my partner happy and have a panic attack and hurt them in my need to get away. And I think that's a very, very, very genuine concern, you know, that you know, you get into a relationship and there's just this fear, concern or worry that they want sex and you just can't do that. And my best advice to you would be is to don't get in that situation. If you're not already in a relationship and you know you're asexual, please, please, please tell the person as soon as you meet them that you are asexual. Don't leave it till you've fallen in love with them or they've fallen in love with you and grown emotionally attached to you or you them. Right? You need to save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of pain and be very upfront with them. Of course they can change their mind. Of course you can change your mind. You know, this is how it goes in life. But you need to give yourself the best chance of being accepted for who you are by being with a person who can accept you for who you are in the first place. And if you have to hide who you are, just think about everything else you're going to have to hide in that relationship. It's going to get very, very tiring very quickly. So please, 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 if you're not already in a relationship, you know you're asexual, then please tell the potential partner, or, you know, if you're in a relationship already, tell them. If you can't be having sex with them, tell them why. So they know it's nothing wrong with them. It's just that you are asexual, you know, and it's your sexual orientation. It's just the way you're wired. You know, just like they're wired to experience sexual attraction, you're wired to not experience sexual attraction. So just make that as clear as possible to them for your own sake and theirs as well. So let's go on now to, we want to go and look at another one. This is 5 Mark 2N story. Otherwise known as Martin. Martin watches this channel quite a bit. Hello, Martin. Big shout out to you. Martin's fear, concern or worry about being asexual is more stress, too many changes in life at once. If I were to come out, that is, and not being taken serious about it. And that is why a lot of asexuals decide not to come out, because they're fearful that they'll be mocked, that they won't be accepted for who they are, that it's a lot of stress with all the questions, or, you know, like about asexuality, that, you know, that if family or friends don't accept it, it's just a whole heap of bother with them having a go at you and just not accepting you or ignoring your sexual orientation, or, you know, it's just not good. And so that's why a lot of asexuals don't come out. But I would still urge you to come out, right? The reason for this is because you don't want to live in fear of your own identity for the rest of your life. You know, you are free to do as you wish and to be who you want. And you can't help being asexual. It's who you are, right? It's better to, yes, it's going to cause some friction, but it's better to be super sincere and honest and come out as asexual and just make sure it's non-negotiable. I said this before in shows You know, make sure your asexuality is absolutely categorically non-negotiable, right? It's not okay for someone to try and start negotiating where you are or aren't asexual. You know who you are. You're asexual. That's it. Does a heterosexual have someone say, "Oh, I don't think you are heterosexual. I'm very sorry, but you're not." I'm telling you, you're not. No, no, you're not heterosexual. I don't know what gives you that idea. No, it must be a phase you're going through, because most people are gay these days, right? So why would you be heterosexual? I mean, that's just weird in this 21st century, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't usually get sexually attracted to the opposite gender anymore, do they? Really? I think that's a bit crazy. Do you see how this could go if you turn the tables the other way round, right? If we heard people start saying stuff like that, then it would be kind of strange, right? But if they're going to say that to you, there's no reason why you can't start saying that to them, you know, because their sexual orientation is no more important or valid than yours is. You're both equally valid in your sexual orientations, right? No one's better than the other. No one's right than the other. It's just different sexual orientations and different preferences and different types of attractions. So just remember that you're perfectly valid. You're not broken. Everything's okay with you. And just be who you're born to be. And love yourself. And you just have to be strong as well. You know that some people will reject your asexuality, but that's their problem. It's not your problem. You just keep being you, right? It's not your problem. What other people think of you is not your problem. I know it hurts sometimes, but the more you get used to saying about your asexuality, the more, you'll find that people just get fed up of trying to tell you otherwise. And that's exactly what they're trying to do, tell you. They're trying to impose their opinions on you. That's all it is, their opinions. It's not a fact. If you're asexual, you know you're asexual. It's a fact. There we go. So, Juanita, what does she think is, or is it a she? I should look about gender before I go on. I don't think they say their gender. So, okay. Right. Anyway, so Juanita's biggest concern, fear, or worry about being asexual is that I desperately want a relationship and a life companion. And to my previous knowledge of the gay girl scene, no one is going to want a long-term relationship with someone who wants sex rarely. So yeah, in my experience, the asexuals that are not minding having sex, they tend to not want it as much as heterosexuals do, or like this person says, basically lesbians, or any sexual person. A lot of the time, usually if they're wired to experience sexual attraction, then they usually want sex, in my experience, more frequently than the asexual person would, because it's on their mind. Whereas for asexuals, it's just really not on our mind. It's not something we actively think about usually. It's not something we go out of our way to seek usually. It's not something that springs to our mind, so easily. If it comes to our mind, it's more like, I don't want to do that, or it's more like, do we have to do this again? Or it's more like, well, I don't mind occasionally, or maybe we could do it because my partner, I love them, and yeah, I could do it, and then obviously if a sex repulse, it'd be like, no way am I doing that, it's not who I am. So we don't usually think about sex unless it's put in our mind by a sexual person quite often, unless you're on the more sexual end of the asexual spectrum. When, for example, if you're a grey asexual, which you do experience sexual attraction under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, or you experience it not to want to act on it, not enough to want to act on it. If you do experience it under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, under those circumstances, you might think about sex, because you would be experiencing the rare times that you do have sexual attraction. So, it's important to understand that everyone's an individual, and that wherever you fall on the asexual spectrum, you're completely valid. And if you don't want sex that much or infrequently, you've just got to try and find someone else that's happy for you to be that way in a relationship, or stay single. You know, it's better to stay single forever than to compromise yourself in a relationship to the point where you're hurting. Like, I've just been interviewed by sex and relationship coach on Facebook, you know, and I was having this conversation, you know, that if you don't want sex and the other person does, and, you know, like she said, it can make you tense. And it is true, in your body, if you don't want sex, you will tense up, right? So you won't be able to have sex without it hurting you anyway, because you don't want it in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So always pay attention to your own body, your own feelings and emotions, you know, and only do something if you're happy to do it, if it's consensual, you know, if you want to do it. I was in a Facebook dating group, I'm still in it, and it's an entrepreneur one. So they're a bit more open-minded, some of them in there. But this one woman was going, oh, I love sex. Sex is amazing. Sex is so healthy. Healthy's good. And I was explaining that sex is healthy to those who like, want it, and need it, but not to those who don't like, want, or need it. It's not healthy, right? And someone who doesn't want sex, but another person's trying to have it with them, it's basically sexual abuse or rape. So for those who don't want sex, don't need it, and don't want to do it, it's not healthy, right? Sexual abuse and rape's not healthy. It's disgusting. Shouldn't happen. But people do end up in those situations. It's more likely to happen to an asexual person. Seems to be a lot of us don't want sex in the first place. You know, unfortunately, society is highly conditioned from birth to, you know, conditioning everyone from birth to think that way. But it's just not true. There are people that are asexual, people that don't want, need, or like sex in a relationship. You know, it's just the way we're wired. You know, and it's logical, common sense. If you really think about it, not everyone's going to like everything in life. There's always going to be some people that don't like some things. With asexuals, most of us don't like sex. Some are sex favorable, though. You know, like I said, it depends where you fall on the asexual spectrum and the individual. But there'll always be a proportion of asexuals that don't want sex. And that's what I'm trying to get across. The fact is, there's some people in society called asexuals, and a large proportion of those don't want sex, right? And it's perfectly normal. It's not healthy for someone who doesn't want sex to be pushed towards doing it. It's not healthy, it's not right, and it's not good. Because this person in this group was saying basically, oh, sex is healthy, sex is good. And I was basically saying it's not healthy and good if the person doesn't want it, because that's called rape or sexual abuse. And she did say, oh, I love you afterwards. So that was nice, you know, because it's important to know that, you know, and people can have love without sex. People can be in a happy, long-lasting, loving, caring, committed relationship that's completely sex-free. They can be happy, healthy, loving, you know. These happy, healthy, loving words that are attached to sex is ridiculous. It's like your relationship's only validated by the amount of sex you're having, you know, in terms of your happiness and lovingness in the relationship and your satisfaction and feeling healthy. You can be healthy, happy, and in love with someone and love someone forever without sex. These three are not mutually exclusive with sex. And that's what we need to get across. Like, they don't go hand in hand unless you choose them to, right? Asexuals can be happy without sex. We can love without sex. We can be healthy without sex. You know, a healthy relationship is only when the two people in it want the same thing. Healthy relationship is not when someone wants loads of sex and someone's sex repulsed and they don't ever want it and they feel pushed into it. Same with if a sexual person is crazy about sex and an asexual doesn't want it, you know, then these people are likely not right for each other if they can't come to some sort of compromise where both people are satisfied and neither of them is giving up their identity or making each other feel uncomfortable, right? If you've got a highly sexual person, somebody who wants sex all the time, and a sex repulsed asexual, they don't go together, let's face it. The only way you're going to get around that is if one person can do one thing to the other person that you both enjoy somehow. So, for example, if one of you is kinky, like the sexual person who needed sex, but the sexual person who needed sex only needed the kink rather than the intercourse, and the other person was all right about that, for example. Or the sexual got completely turned on by the asexual not wanting sex, which might be someone's fetish, for example. But unless if you're in a monogamous relationship, if someone wants lots of sex, someone wants no sex, it's not going to work, right? You're both going to be unhappy because your needs aren't being met, right? So always remember this. Asexuals and sexuals can work together. There's people in my book. There's a person who's who's in this book who's with a bisexual person, and them not having sex with them doesn't match the bisexual person. There's also people in this book that are asexual that do have sex with their partner, right? So there's different types of asexuals. But you have to know in life there are some people that don't want sex, and it's okay to be like that. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And the sooner the world wakes up to that, the better, because the more we can actually have lots more open, honest communication about, sex and relationships, which there just isn't at the moment. It's just huge, like kind of like stigma and no one talking about things a lot of the time. Asexuals talk more educationally about sex than anyone. They really do. It's all matter of fact with us, right? Because we're not emotionally attached to it, which is very different to sexuals, in my experience. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button. Hit the bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. And if you've got any concerns, worries, or fears about asexuality or being asexual, please post them down below in the comments. I'd love to read what you think. If you've got anything, concerns, worries, or fears that you need me to do a video about, post that below as well. And until next time, embrace your quirky and each other's. I'll see you on the next video live stream. Bye bye.